The rain hammered down like it had a grudge, turning the streets of Chicago into a slick, unforgiving maze. I slammed the cab door behind me, my heart pounding louder than the thunder rolling in from Lake Michigan. And that's when I saw him, Julian Voss, the man who'd just wrecked my world in the span of one stolen hour. He stood under the awning of that godforsaken bar on Rush Street, his tailored suit untouched by the downpour, lighting a cigarette with hands that trembled just enough to betray the ice-cold facade he wore like armor. "You think you can walk away from this?" he growled, his voice cutting through the storm like a blade, eyes locking onto mine with a hunger that promised both salvation and ruin. I froze, water dripping from my lashes, the taste of his kiss still burning on my lips, whiskey and regret, sharp as shattered glass. "What the hell do you want from me now?" I shot back, my voice cracking like the lightning splitting the sky, because deep down, I already knew. One night wasn't enough to erase the fire he'd ignited, the kind that would consume us both. That night had started innocently enough, or as innocent as a Friday in the Loop could be for a guy like me. I'm Alex Harper, 25, born and raised in the Rust Belt shadow of Gary, Indiana, where dreams go to die under the weight of steel mills and small-town judgments. Chicago was my escape 5 years back, a city of jagged edges and second chances, where I slung drinks at the Velvet Rope, a dive bar tucked between gleaming high-rises that catered to the after-hours crowd, suits loosening ties, artists nursing hangovers, and the occasional lost soul like me, chasing fragments of something real in a sea of fleeting glances. I'd always known I was gay, but growing up in Gary, that was a secret buried deeper than the Calumet River's toxic silt. Dad was a line worker at the mill, Mom waitress doubles to keep the lights on. They loved me fierce, but whispers about that Harper boy were enough to make me bolt for the city the second I could afford a Greyhound ticket. Chicago swallowed me whole, its brutal winds, its endless nights, and spit me out tougher, with a tattoo of a compass rose on my forearm to remind me which way was north, even when the stars were hidden by smog. The Velvet Rope was my kingdom and my cage. Leather stools scarred from too many spills, a jukebox crooning Springsteen and Adele in equal measure, and walls papered with faded Polaroids of patrons who'd come and gone. I worked the late shift, mixing Manhattans for Wall Street wolves and IPAs for the indie crowd spilling out from nearby theaters. It paid the rent on my shoebox apartment in Wicker Park, cracked plaster ceilings, a fire escape that rattled like bones in the wind, and left just enough for the occasional splurge on vinyl records or a ticket to a Cubs game, where I'd sit alone in the bleachers, cheering for underdogs because that's what I was. That Friday, the bar was electric, humming with the pre-weekend buzz. Bodies pressed close under the dim amber lights, laughter cutting through the haze of cigarette smoke that clung to everything despite the no-smoking signs. I was behind the bar, sleeves rolled up, wiping down the oak counter stained dark from years of spilled secrets, when he walked in. Julian Voss. Even his name sounded like money, crisp, unyielding, the kind that bought silence and loyalty in equal measure. He was older than the usual crowd, mid-30s maybe, with the kind of presence that made the room tilt. Tall, broad-shouldered, his charcoal suit cut sharp as a razor, hugging a frame honed by private gyms and power lunches. Dark hair swept back, just a touch of silver at the temples that only amplified the intensity in his steel-gray eyes that scanned the room like a predator assessing territory. He moved with purpose, ignoring the flirtatious glances from the cluster of finance bros at the end of the bar, and slid onto the stool directly in front of me. "Whiskey neat," he said, voice low and commanding, laced with that East Coast clip that screamed old money. Maybe Boston or Philly, but definitely not from around here. His gaze flicked up, pinning me in place, and I felt it like a current, straight to my gut. "Coming up," I replied, pouring from the top-shelf bottle without breaking eye contact, the amber liquid glinting under the pendant lights. Our fingers brushed when I slid the glass over, electric, deliberate, and he didn't pull away. "Long night?" I asked, leaning on the bar, the noise of the place fading to a dull roar. He took a slow sip, lips curving into something that wasn't quite a smile. "The longest. Board meetings that drag on like bad divorces." "You." I shrugged, wiping my hands on a rag. "Same old. Pouring dreams into glasses until they shatter by last call." He chuckled, a sound like gravel under tires, rough, unexpected, poetic. "What's your name, bartender poet?" "Alex. And you?" Julian. He extended a hand, grip firm, warm, lingering a beat too long. Voss, as in Voss Financial. Ever heard of it? The name hit like a cold splash. Voss Financial, headquartered in the Aeon Center, the beast that swallowed small banks for breakfast and spat out foreclosures for lunch. Julian Voss was the CEO, the ruthless son of a bitch splashed across Crane's Chicago business for gutting unions and engineering hostile takeovers. The man who'd made headlines last month for firing half a division on a whim, his face on the cover staring out like a storm cloud. What the hell was he doing in a hole like the velvet rope? Can't say I have. I lied, because admitting I had would kill the spark flickering between us. Instead, I poured him another, on the house, and we talked. Easy at first, about the Cubs' slim playoff chances, the way the city lights danced on the river at dusk. But as the bar emptied, the conversation turned raw. He confessed the isolation of the penthouse life, the boardroom battles that left him hollow. I shared bits of Gary, the mill whistles at dawn, the ache of leaving family behind to chase a truth I couldn't voice back home. "You're not like the others here," he said, eyes tracing the line of my jaw, the ink peeking from my sleeve. "There's fire in you. Real fire." Heat flushed my skin, and before I knew it, last call had come and gone. The bar was ours, empty glasses clinking as we cleared up, shoulders brushing in the narrow space. "Walk with me," he murmured, close enough that his breath ghosted my ear. The rain stopped. "I need air." "Need you." My pulse thundered. This was madness, a nobody like me, tangling with a titan like him. But in that moment, with the city pulsing outside, I wanted to burn. We stumbled out into the night, the air thick with the scent of wet asphalt and distant sirens. His hand found the small of my back, guiding me toward his black Audi idling curbside, the driver averting his eyes like a ghost. The drive to his place blurred, Michigan Avenue's magnificent mile streaking past in a haze of gold and shadow. His penthouse atop the Park Hyatt was a fortress of glass and steel, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the glittering sprawl of Chicago below, Lake Michigan a black void beyond. We didn't make it past the foyer. His mouth crashed into mine, hungry, demanding, hands framing my face as if I were something precious and breakable. I kissed back fierce, fingers threading through his hair, tasting the whiskey on his tongue, the salt of unspoken loneliness. Clothes shed like secrets in the dim light, his suit jacket pooling on marble floors, my shirt tugged over my head, exposing the scars of a life scraped together. We moved to the bedroom, a vast expanse of silk sheets and city views, bodies colliding in a rhythm that was equal parts desperation and discovery. He was commanding yet tender, mapping my skin with lips and hands that knew power but craved surrender. "God, Alex," he groaned against my neck, voice raw, "you undo me." I arched into him, whispering his name like a prayer, the world narrowing to the heat between us, the way he filled me, body and soul, in ways I'd never known. Afterward, we lay tangled, sweat slick and spent, his arm heavy across my chest, breath steady against my shoulder. The city hummed below, indifferent. "Stay," he murmured, half asleep, fingers tracing lazy circles on my hip. But dawn crept in too soon, gray light filtering through the blinds. Reality slammed back. My shift started at noon, his empire waited. He stirred, eyes sharpening as he glanced at the clock. "I have a flight to New York. Merger talks." The words were clipped, the vulnerability of the night folding away like a suit jacket buttoned tight. I dressed in silence, the ache in my chest blooming sharp. Last night was. I trailed off, searching for words that wouldn't cheapen it. "Incredible," he finished, pulling me close for one last kiss, soft, lingering. "But this life, it's a machine. It doesn't stop for anyone." We exchanged numbers in the elevator, a promise scrawled on a napkin from the bar. Then he was gone, vanishing into the morning rush, leaving me on the street with the echo of his touch and the weight of what we'd unleashed. Back at my apartment, the high faded into a hollow buzz. I crashed on my lumpy couch, staring at the water-stained ceiling, replaying every moment. The way his eyes softened in the dark, the vulnerability he'd let slip about his own closeted youth in a conservative family dynasty. Julian Voss, the ruthless CEO, had cracks, deep ones, and I'd glimpsed them. But as the day wore on, my phone stayed silent. No texts, no calls, just the relentless tick of the clock. 2 weeks blurred by in a fog of shifts and solitude. The velvet rope felt smaller, the patrons' faces blurring into one endless parade. I threw myself into work, mixing drinks with mechanical precision, but my mind wandered to the penthouse scent of leather and bergamot cologne clinging to my skin. I'd text once, thinking about that ring. You make it back okay? Radio silence. Pride kept me from trying again. Then the nausea hit. Subtle at first, a queasy roll in the mornings, chalked up to bad takeout. But it persisted, sharpening into something insistent. I ignored it until my reflection in the bar's foggy mirror showed hollow cheeks, eyes shadowed. A drugstore test, peed on in the dim light of my bathroom, two pink lines staring back like accusations. Pregnant. Me. A man. It sounded insane, ripped from some fever dream, but in our world, hidden clinics, experimental meds for those desperate enough, the impossible edge toward reality. I dabbled once, years back, in a trial for fertility blockers turned enhancers, chasing a family I'd never thought possible. But this? Julian's child, growing inside me from that one reckless night. Panic clawed up my throat. I sank to the tile floor, hands pressing my flat stomach, tears hot and unbidden. How? Why now? And him, Julian Voss, the man who'd ghosted me like yesterday's news. What would he do with this? The ruthless king of Chicago finance, saddled with a secret like me and a baby neither of us planned. I had to tell him, but as I scrolled to his number, fingers hovering, fear rooted me. One night had changed everything. Now, it threatened to shatter us both. Word count, 1012. The city that never sleeps had become my insomnia's cruel accomplice. Nights blurred into days, each one heavier with the secret nesting in my body. By week 5, the changes were undeniable. A subtle swell to my abdomen, breasts tender under my threadbare tees, a bone-deep fatigue that turned pouring shots into an Olympic feat I'd taken to wearing looser shirts at the bar, blaming the Chicago winter bulk up when coworkers ribbed me about gaining weight. But inside, I was unraveling, threads of denial fraying against the truth. I was carrying Julian Voss's child, and he didn't even know my last name beyond that napkin scribble. Chicago in late fall was a beast, winds whipping off the lake like vengeful ghosts, stripping leaves from the oaks lining Wabash Avenue. I walked everywhere those days, too wired to sit still, boots crunching frost-kissed sidewalks as I wove through the Loop's morning commute. Suits hurried past with coffee steam curling from styrofoam cups, oblivious to the storm brewing in the guy dodging their elbows. Me, with my compass tattoo itching like a warning, navigating a life suddenly off its axis. Telling him consumed me. I'd rehearse in the mirror, voice steady. Julian, we need to talk. That night. It's not over. But every time my thumb grazed send, doubt crashed in. What if he laughed? Denied it? Or worse, offered money to make it disappear, like some corporate liability? Voss Financial's empire was built on calculated risks, not messy miracles. And me? I was the mess. The velvet rope became my confessional. Late shifts, I'd lean on the bar during lulls, staring at the neon, open sign flickering like a heartbeat. Old-timers like Frankie, a grizzled vet with a prosthetic leg and stories of Nam, sensed my drift. Kid, you look like you swallowed a ghost. He'd grunt over his third bud, eyeing me with that paternal squint. Spill it, or it'll eat you alive. I almost did. Almost let the words tumble out about the man who'd stormed my world and vanished. But Frankie's generation carried their own scars. His were from wars fought in jungles, mine in the quiet battle for identity. Instead, I'd pour him a double and deflect. Just the city blues, Frankie. It'll pass. It didn't. By week 6, the cravings hit, pickles wrapped in salami, of all things, and the dream started. Vivid, haunting, Julian's hands on my belly, gray eyes wide with wonder, whispering promises in the penthouse glow. I'd wake gasping, sheets twisted, the empty side of the bed a chasm. Loneliness was an old friend, but this was sharper, laced with a fierce protectiveness for the life I'd created. Our child, stubborn, unexpected, a bridge between my blue-collar roots and his gilded cage. I caved on a Tuesday, the bar closed for inventory. Rain lashed the windows again, mirroring that first night. Phone in hand, I dialed. It rang once, twice. Voicemail, his voice smooth as aged scotch. Julian Voss. Leave a message, or don't waste my time. My throat closed. Hey, it's Alex. From the rope. We met a few weeks back. It's important. Call me. Click. Sent into the void. Hours ticked by. Then, as I huddled under threadbare blankets, watching reruns of The Bear for the Chicago grit that grounded me, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Heart slamming, I answered. Alex. His voice, low, edged with surprise, maybe irritation. This is unexpected. I sat up, clutching the phone like a lifeline. Yeah, well, life throws curveballs. Can we meet? In person. It's not a conversation for lines. Silence stretched, heavy as the storm outside. I'm in back-to-back meetings tomorrow. Thursday, the signature room, 8. Don't be late. He hung up abrupt, leaving me staring at the screen, pulse roaring. The signature room, 95th floor of the Hancock building, where power players sealed deals over skyline views and $100 stakes. Not a dive bar. A statement. Thursday dawned brittle, the kind of cold that seeped into bones. I called in sick to the rope, a first, and spent the day prepping like it was a deposition. Loose button-down to hide the faint curve of my waist, hair combed back, boots polished. Staring at my reflection, I saw the boy from Gary, wide-eyed, terrified, but with a resolve hardening like lake ice. This child deserved better than shadows. The elevator ride to the signature room was a slow ascent into his world. Polished brass, soft jazz, the scent of wealth. I stepped out into a sea of linen tablecloths and crystal, waiters gliding like specters. Julian was at a corner table, city lights sprawling below like a conquered kingdom. He rose as I approached, impeccable in a navy suit, tie loosened just enough to hint at the man I'd known. Alex, he said, extending a hand, professional, distant. But his eyes betrayed him, flickering with that same hunger from the rain-slick night. We ordered filet for him, salmon for me, something light to settle the nausea churning. Small talk first. The merger's success, my bar shifts. Then, as the sun dipped, painting the room in fiery hues, I leaned in. That night, it wasn't just a night for me. His fork paused mid-air, brow furrowing. What do you mean? I swallowed, the words a dam breaking. I'm pregnant, Julian. With your child. The clatter of silverware echoed as his fork hit the plate. His face drained of color, eyes widening, not with joy, but calculation. Pregnant? How? That's impossible. Not anymore. Trials, tech. It happens. My voice steadied, hand instinctively drifting to my side. I didn't plan this, but it's real, and it's ours. He leaned back, fingers drumming the table. A tell, I'd learn later, for when his mind raced through balance sheets. This changes everything. Not we, but this. Already, the walls were up. Changes. I echoed, heat rising. It's a life, Julian. Not a quarterly report. His gaze softened fractionally, reaching across to cover my hand. I know. Christ, Alex, I know. But my world. It's vicious. The board, the press, they devour this. Devour you. The waiter cleared plates, oblivious. We talked circles, options, timelines, his insistence on discretion. He promised doctors, the best prenatal care, wired funds to my account before dessert arrived. But beneath the logistics, a current pulled, his thumb stroking my knuckles, eyes lingering on my lips. I haven't stopped thinking about you, he admitted, voice husky. That night haunts me. Then don't let it end here. I whispered, the room spinning with possibility. We left together, his driver waiting below. Back at his penthouse, familiar now, less a fortress, the air crackled. He poured scotch, handed me sparkling water, and we talked until the city slept. His closeted marriage to the firm in all but name, my fears of raising a kid in a one-room walk-up. Vulnerability bridged us again, hands finding waists, mouths meeting in the kitchen's glow. This time, slower. Exploring the new landscape of my body, his lips reverent on the swell of my belly, whispering awe against my skin. You're incredible, he breathed, as we moved to the bedroom, bodies sinking in a dance of rediscovery. Morning brought coffee on the terrace, Chicago waking below. We'll figure this out, he said, arm around me, watching ferries cut the lake. For a moment, it felt possible, a family forged in fire. But as he dressed for the office, phone buzzing incessantly, reality intruded. Keep me posted on appointments, he said, kissing my forehead like a benediction. I'll be there. He wasn't. Weeks slipped by, ultrasounds I attended solo, nausea battles and empty clinics. Texts grew sparse, swamped with audits. Tomorrow? Tomorrow became next week. The funds helped, better food, a second-hand crib, but the silence stung deeper than neglect. I saw him in headlines. Voss Financial expands. Julian Voss hailed visionary. No mention of the vision growing inside me. By month 3, isolation clawed. The rope's crew noticed the glow they teased as lover's luck, but Frankie's eyes narrowed. That ghost you swallowed? It's growing fangs, kid. I confided bits, enough to ease the weight, and he clapped my shoulder. Blood's thicker than boardroom ink. Remember that. Christmas loomed, lights twinkling on Michigan Avenue like false promises. I wandered the magnificent mile alone, gloved hands on my rounding belly, snowflakes catching in my lashes. A text from Julian. Holiday gala tonight. Join me? Hope flickered. I borrowed a jacket from a coworker, slicked my hair, and stepped into his world again. The gala at the Art Institute was opulence incarnate. Crystal chandeliers, gowns swirling like auroras, power brokers toasting under dinosaur skeletons. Julian found me in the crowd, resplendent in black tie, pulling me into a shadowed alcove. You look stunning, he murmured, hand splaying possessively over my bump, hidden beneath loose fabric. We danced, slow, scandalous for a public soiree, his body warm against mine, whispers of future plans laced with desire. But eyes watched. Whispers rippled. Voss with that bartender. What's the angle? His grip tightened, jaw set. Ignore them, he said, but tension coiled. Later, in a private lounge, champagne flowing for others, water for me, he confessed, the board sniffing around. Rumors of instability. Us, could tank stocks. Us. The word thrilled, then chilled. So what? We're building something real. His kiss silenced me, fierce, claiming. We slipped away to a hotel suite nearby, the Palmer House's vintage grandeur cocoon. There, unguarded, he worshipped my changing form. Fingers tracing stretch marks like constellations, mouth coaxing gasps as he entered me slow, eyes locked. Mine, he growled, not ruthless, but raw. All mine. Dawn found us entwined, plans sketched on hotel stationery, co-parenting clauses, a trust for the baby. Hope bloomed fragile. Then betrayal's shadow fell. A week later, post-holiday slump, my phone lit with a Cranes alert. Voss Financial in turmoil. CEO's secret affair rocks merger. Photos, grainy, but unmistakable. Me at the gala, his hand on my waist. Caption speculated, leverage play? Blackmail? Panic surged. I called him, voicemail again. Julian, what the hell? Call me. Nothing. Frankie found me at the rope that night, face ashen, vomit in the alley trash. Kid, breathe. Whatever this is, you ain't alone. But I was, until the door swung open, and there he stood, soaked from sleet, eyes wild. Alex, it's not what. The fight erupted, words like shrapnel, his damage control, a PI hired to protect us that backfired, board pressure to clean house. They threatened exposure. Your job, my empire. My job. I laughed bitter, hand on belly. This is our child, Julian. Not a PR nightmare. He reached for me, desperate. I love you. God, I do. But I can't lose everything. Love. The word hung, a lifeline or noose. I pulled away. Then choose. Us, or the throne. He left in silence, door clicking like a guillotine. Months 4 through 6 blurred in a haze of appointments and ache. The baby kicked, fierce, like its father, and I'd sing old Springsteen tunes, hand to swell, whispering, we'll be okay, little one. Just you and me. The rope became family. Frankie stocking ginger ale, co-workers chipping in for ultrasounds. Chicago's pulse synced with mine. L-train rumbles lulling me to sleep, lake winds carrying resolve. Julian's text trickled, thinking of you. Of us. Gifts arrived, anonymously, designer maternity wear, a silver rattle engraved haven. But no visits. I saw him once, from afar, at a charity run in Grant Park, his face haggard amid the crowd, eyes scanning as if searching for me. Then, crisis, bleeding, sharp pains at 5 months. ER lights harsh, doctors murmuring about bed rest, risks. Alone on the gurney, tears streaming, I texted, hospital. Now, please. He came, barging through doors like a force, suit rumpled, eyes bloodshot. Alex, he choked, gripping my hand as monitors beeped. I'm here, not leaving. We waited out the scare together, hours bleeding into night, his thumb stroking my knuckles, apologies spilling. The board's ultimatum, his fear of failing us like his father failed him. I built walls to survive. But you make me want to tear them down. The baby stabilized, and in that sterile room, With dawn gilding the blinds, he kissed me soft. Marry me. Not for show, for us. I'll step back, delegate. We do this right. Tears pricked. No grand gestures. Prove it. He did, in fragments. Weekly visits, prenatal classes in his penthouse, hands on my belly feeling kicks, wonder softening his edges. We rebuilt, slow, tentative. Nights tangled in sheets, his ruthless shell cracking to reveal the man who'd whispered vulnerabilities that first dawn. But trust fractured easy. Whispers from his world seeped, a discreet advisor suggesting adoption, leaked emails hinting at buyouts. Paranoia bloomed. Was this real, or another merger? Month 7. A board leak. Voss's heir. Scandal or strategy. Photos of us at a quiet diner. My bump unmistakable. Stocks plummeted. Headlines screamed. Julian's phone exploded. He vanished into war rooms, emerging hollow-eyed. That night, storm raging, he came to my apartment. First time seeing my real life. Peeling paint, secondhand bassinet. They're forcing my hand, he said, voice breaking. Resign or deny you. Deny. The word gutted me. After everything? I won't. But the fallout. He knelt, forehead to my belly. I choose you. Us. It was the spark. We fled, temporarily, to his cabin in Door County, Wisconsin, lake winds healing what Chicago broke. There, under star-pricked skies, he proposed again. Simple ring, no press. Build a life with me, Alex. No empires, just home. I said yes. The baby's kicks a chorus. Labor hit at 8 months, a midnight rush to Northwestern Memorial. Julian coached through contractions, sweat beading his brow, hand crushing mine. You're so strong, he murmured, as I pushed, world narrowing to pain and his voice. Our son arrived at 3:17 a.m. Elias Voss Harper, 7 pounds of fury and downy hair, gray-green eyes blinking at the lights. Julian held him first, tears carving tracks down his cheeks, whispering, Hey, little man. Daddy's here. The world waited outside, resignations filed, Voss financial teetering, but in that room, with Elias nursing and Julian's arm around us, it faded. We'd clawed through betrayal, built from ruins. Months later, Chicago thawed into spring. We settled in a brownstone in Lincoln Park. His, but ours. Walks along the lake with Elias in a carrier, Julian trading suits for jeans, learning bottles and burps. The press dubbed it Voss's reinvention, but we ignored the noise, forging quiet victories, playdates with Frankie, family Sundays grilling on the stoop. One night, Elias asleep, we stood on the balcony, city lights winking. That one night, Julian said, chin on my shoulder, it saved me. I turned, kissing him deep. It made us. In the end, love wasn't ruthless. It was relentless, a compass pointing home through any storm.